Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Massive Breakdown Podcast, episode 47. Game Informer had a wonderful article talking about the new direction that they thought they were taking this campaign. It really seems like they're focusing with laser precision on one aspect of the story. It was something they didn't do in Destiny 1, and it's looking to me like they've taken a huge step up for Destiny 2 in this one particular facet. In Destiny 1, they introduced us to 3 or 4 micro stories over the course of the campaign. We were introduced to the Fallen, we were introduced to the Hive, and obviously it came from being introduced to so many different types of enemies without the main focus really being on one or the other.
Yeah.
We were introduced to all these types of stories, and almost none of them came to satisfying conclusions. Even the Vex with the Black Garden, the Vault of Glass, it still didn't really wrap up. And obviously they couldn't do that because it was the first game in a series. They have to leave some open ends. But at the same time, I felt like my attention was divided between a whole host of enemies, and I didn't really know very much about any of them. It seems like we are being treated to a Gaul Cabal special, where they're going to tell us a ton of stuff about them. We're going to learn so much about this one enemy. It's going to allow us to focus on one thing, and it's going to allow them, I think, to build a much better cinematic story, and the cutscenes we've seen so far definitely support that.
Yeah.
And this is just echoed in the interview with Game Informer that the story designers gave, where they really feel like this is their time to, shine, I guess.
I'm really, really happy that they are taking this direction and taking this opportunity to tell us a story that really gives us, I guess, a feel for who it is that we're fighting, why we're fighting them, why we care. The Destiny 1 story got a lot of bashing. Obviously the most common joke, of course, is that there wasn't a story. I don't feel like that's entirely fair, but I feel like the problem with the story for me is that there was no agency, there was no agenda. I didn't know why the Vex were evil. I was told that they were evil and they were shooting at me, and it was fun. It was fun to kill them. But what was Atheon doing? Why did I care? What was the Black Garden doing? Why did I care? Why did I need to stop it? Why was the Spear happy that I did? I don't really feel like I know for sure. We could speculate, we could make this a massive lore down, but we're not going to. The point is that it was not clear in the game why those things mattered, or how they affected the world at large, and it feels like Bungie has taken that feedback, and rather than getting upset or being defensive, they've said, okay, you guys want a clear, concise story with a direction, with an enemy that you can understand. We're going there, and I'm so excited to shoot Gull in the face a lot.
Yeah, I know we don't want to make this a lore down, but at the same point, there's a little bit of lore that does need to be discussed. They say that the Cabal have nothing to do with the darkness. The darkness is not the focus of this game. It's reclaiming the light. So the darkness is a separate thing. They even say that the Cabal have nothing to do with darkness. They are not the darkness. They are not representatives of the darkness. They even throw in this little tidbit. The Hive are the closest because they worship the darkness. But you can worship a thing that you are not, implying that the darkness is something still yet unseen. Those are important distinctions, it says in the Game Informer's article, and I like that because it says the Cabal have their own complexities. We know Gaul's motivation.
Right.
That is something that we haven't known about any character since Oryx, basically. We didn't know any of their other... Why were the Vex doing what they were doing in the Black Garden? Why were the Hive doing what they were doing on the moon? Why were they trying to turn the moon into whatever it was they were trying to turn into, a giant spaceship? I have no idea. Why were they cracking apart the moon? Why were the Cabal even on Mars? We don't really know, but now we know what Gaul is doing. We know why he's here. We know what he wants. He has a personality. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to dive into that.
Yeah, an enemy who really has I think, and that I think is what really drew me into the Taken King. And the Taken King, I feel like, is really where I got super invested in Destiny. I played a lot of Destiny year one. And a lot of that was about playing with friends, and I had a regular group that I played a ton with. And after House of Wolves, a lot of that group kind of fell apart. And then with the Taken King, you know, I built my own clan up with a friend and some people who I've now been playing with for almost 2 years, who've made an amazing experience. And the Taken King, the reason that it resonated is that I cared, you know, that I was like, you know, yes, I did kill his son repeatedly, over and over again. I've killed his son so many times. I understand why he's angry, why he's here, and I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna do the same thing to him. With Wrath of the Machine, even, I don't feel like I got that personal investment, and I really hope that is what led up to this. That Bungie saw, okay, the Taken King, we made it personal. People really got into it. Wrath of the Machine, I think some people got into it. I know a lot of people who maybe didn't really get as invested in the story because it just, you know, it wasn't about us. You know, it was cool that we got to learn more about Lord Saladin and the Iron Lords, but I really feel like the story was about him and it wasn't really about us.
The last mission was cool, and I like the idea of Siva, but Siva was explained better through the alternate reality game at the beginning than it was through the actual story itself, which is disappointing.
I wanted to avoid at the beginning of this getting off on like a 5-minute tangent, and I think I have completely failed to do that. But my point is that I really hope that we see a lot more enemies in Destiny 2 making things personal, because that is what really motivates me playing a game, is when somebody comes in and says, hey, you, I hate you, I'm going to break your shit and kick you in the face. Then I'm like, yes, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to get this guy. So that, you know, maybe that's, I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it gets me excited. I'm excited to fight Gaul, and I'm excited to get Cabal's Deep. I've been waiting like 20 minutes to make that joke. And, God, you know, I can't get over that excitement. I feel like we've spent 20 minutes just hyping how excited we are about the story, but it's really important. That's one of the best. That's really the best thing that came out of E3 for Destiny 2 so far, I think, is that they've just confirmed how awesome the story is building up to be.
And I give them credit. If there was one constant criticism of Destiny 1, it was that the story sucked. And it seems like they have taken that to heart and gone all out trying to make a better story. So I will give them credit for that. For all of Destiny 1's faults, the most glaring was the lack of a good story, and I think that will be rectified in Destiny 2.
Yeah. The one thing we can't complain about in Destiny 2 so far is the story.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
And the other thing that was probably the second most glaring of Destiny 1's faults was balance issues. There were a lot of balance issues. A ton in Destiny 1. The game came out unbalanced. The game is ending unbalanced, and it looks like in Destiny 2, they're making a lot of inroads into trying to solve that problem. They've rectified power weapons by making them all in one slot. You've now got 2 primaries. They said that they have the ability to monitor individual weapons now instead of basically only being able to change archetypes. And they gave the example of Clever Dragon was good, so all high rate of fire pulse rifles had to suffer, basically. And now they're saying they can single out individual weapons. So hopefully that will mean there won't ever be a case again of Thorn and the Last Word are good, so all hand cannons have to be nerfed, which is what happened before. Or Surus Regime is good, so all ARs have to be nerfed. They have specifically said that they now have the ability to go in and tune 1 or 2 weapons. On top of that, with the new weapon system where you get 2 primaries and then a power, and power ammo is scarce, it tells people where you are when you pick it up, it tells people what gun you're using. It basically takes away a lot of the, I don't want to say cheapness, but the one-hit abilities that exist in Destiny. They've even scaled back on grenade and melee timers, so there's not as much stuff like that. It's a lot more about gun skill now. There are a lot less times when I was playing Destiny 2 where I was running around and I was like, oh, holy shit, I can't believe I died from that. Or how did I die from that? It was all, oh, I lost that engagement. Knew that was going to happen. Like, I played that badly, my position was bad, and it felt great. And on top of that, it's made it so much easier to balance when you just are basically balancing primary weapons for 90% of engagements. You don't have to be balancing special weapons. So I think like I said, the second biggest complaint I had about Destiny 1 was that the balancing was very, very poor a large portion of the time. And it seems like now, even with the lack of customizations in the subclasses, which again is something that I'm not particularly happy about, but it does make it easier for them to balance perk options. So I think everything they've done so far, some of it I like, some of it I don't, has been with the direction of making it easier to balance the game. And we'll have less outliers. They even talked about the reasons why they removed Sunsinger, right? Why they removed Blade Dancer. They said some of the things they thought were hard to balance around. For instance, Sunsinger's ability to revive, Blade Dancer's ability to go invisible. They thought those things were maybe a little bit difficult to work with, to balance the game around. So they took them out. And I understand why they did that. And I'm happy overall that they did those things.
One of the things I am really excited about for Destiny 2 is kind of a clean start on the whole balance table, because Destiny 1 has just been, it's been a wild kind of a roller coaster ride in terms of trying to keep up with the balance and figuring out why they made certain decisions and why some things are in the game, like why certain weapons or perks exist, like what exactly the balance proposition was, and maybe it was just they thought it at some point they thought it might be good, and then they never had an opportunity to go back and fix it. So I think maybe the thing that I was most excited to read was that they now have the opportunity to balance weapons on an individual one-by-one basis. I think that, that must be a huge step for them in terms of the sandbox team and what they can do. I know that they could do some of that, obviously, in Destiny 1, but it sounds like it's become a lot easier for them to handle. And I'm very hopeful that maybe we'll see either more frequent and smaller changes, or at the very least more nuanced changes if we start with a more level playing field than we did in Destiny 1.
Yeah, the ability to only change broad swaths of weapons at one time was not a good look for Destiny. It made it very difficult to effectively balance. And that was one of the things we were talking about earlier, and it's a problem that I had with Destiny, is that they gave us the core of the game. The playability of the game was excellent. But when they built systems on top of the game, they did not make sure the bases of those systems were set before they started adding stuff on top of them. So they gave us an economy that was very fluid and didn't make a lot of sense. Sometimes was stingy, sometimes was overly generous. They gave us weapon balancing, weapon subclasses, which were not even close to balance. And then instead of fixing them at the bottom and then building on top of a fixed system, they just built on top of it. And so you end up with this leaning tower of shit because they didn't build a solid foundation for each individual system. The game itself as a whole has a solid foundation. That's the way the game feels when you play. Nobody out there can deny it's one of the best feeling shooters, if not the best feeling shooter that has existed on consoles. But the systems that were on top of it were not well balanced. Perks were not well balanced. Subclasses were not well balanced. Weapons were not well balanced. Archetypes within weapons were not well balanced. And so they had a lot of issues there. And it seems like this time they've kind of wiped that slate clean, and they've started with hopefully what should be a solid foundation for each one of these systems. That's something I'm very excited about, because one of my biggest complaints of the way they've done things is that they were very late to go back in and fix what it was that was causing the issue. They would change something on top of what was causing the issue. And you can even see it with the last balance patch in Destiny 1. They didn't fix the special weapon ammo, they just forcibly changed the entire economy. You know, that's not solving the problem. That is clamping down on the problem so that people can only play a certain way. And that was what was happening basically all of Destiny 1. And hopefully with the way they've changed things in Destiny 2, that won't ever be the case again. At least that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for.
I do have a theory that they might have actually pushed Destiny 1 in that direction in order to kind of preemptively start pushing us toward what they already knew was going to be the Destiny 2 playstyle with that focus on primary play. I still don't know that it was the right choice for Destiny 1, but that at least makes more sense to me than a lot of, I guess, the other kind of explanations for it. So I don't know. What we will now call power ammo is a huge problem in Destiny 1. Has been from, by all reports since the alpha. So special ammo and heavy ammo are they're problematic for PvP and PvE. You complain about a boss being a bullet sponge, but when you have access to a machine gun and Gallarhorn and high-impact sniper rifles, they have to give bosses ridiculous amounts of health, because otherwise we'll just crush them in 2 minutes. We had so much damage output at all times, and so PvE, I think, is going to be a very different experience, because we're not going to have endless power ammo. We're going to have a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher or a shotgun, whatever it is, a fusion rifle. And then we're going to have 2 primary weapons, and we're going to be fighting bosses. And so what does that mean that these bosses are going to look like? I think they're going to be very different as a result. And so that PvE balance, that impact on the PvE game, I think for once a balance change that could be looked at as being made to benefit the competitive and the PvP side of things, actually has the potential to have really positive repercussions for the PvE side of things, because instead of just making bullet sponge bosses, they can really focus a lot more on the mechanical aspects of it, because it's going to be a primary PvE game as well. And that, I think, is something that has not gotten a whole lot of attention so far in the community. Everybody is very focused, understandably so, because it's what we're doing in Destiny 1 right now, on PvP. And PvP gets a lot of attention. That's the esports side of things, that a lot of people are very invested in that going well. Although esports on Destiny 2 maybe deserves its entire own episode. But I guess the point I wanted to make is just that I really feel like there's a lot of good possible repercussions for what they've done to the weapon balance in Destiny 2. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some very exciting story options as a result. Again, though, that's going to depend on things like AI improvements, level design, boss mechanics. There's a lot that we don't know enough about yet, and I guess the beta will give us some, and hopefully the quote unquote surprise content that they're going to throw into the beta is going to be something that really gives us a better feel for Destiny 2 as a whole. Because if it's just what they've revealed, if that's all we get, that is a little disappointing. I'll be very excited to play it myself. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm super jealous that I haven't gotten to play it and you have. But, I've seen it. I've seen it all. Getting to experience it is great, but I do want to see something new. And I hope it's something good.
And what you were saying earlier about, well, they're pushing us in the direction that they think Destiny 2 is going to go. Well, I believe they're pushing us in that direction because that's the direction they wanted to go. I don't think this was, a random off-the-cuff decision. I think the PvE and PvP teams got together and said, look, these are some issues we're having with the game right now.
Yeah.
And it turns out giving people power weapons all the time is very problematic. But what it does, and this is where a lot of the salt is coming from, they're trying to do addition by subtraction, basically. They're trying to make the game better by taking away power from the players. The issue with that is when you give players abilities, players, regardless of whether those abilities are abusable or not, they want to use them, and some people enjoy using them. When you take those abilities away, you upset people. In Destiny 2, it's kind of okay because it's a clean slate. Everybody, for the most part, is starting on the same level playing field. Yes, you'll have some fewer abilities and some fewer powers than you would in Destiny 1, but because it's a new game, you can kind of expect something like that. The problem stemmed from Destiny 1 where they did that in the middle of the game. The game started off with a very much faster time to kill than we have right now. And as you slowed it down, players started feeling less and less lethal. as you took away their abilities to kill, players started feeling like they were being made powerless. And it was not addition by subtraction, it was just subtraction.
Right.
Hoping to start from a clean slate is hoping to avoid that same issue. If you start everyone fresh, everyone new, you take away their powers in the campaign and you let them build them back up, you kind of hope to avoid that. But that's another problem, along with not building sufficient bases for their different mechanics and then building on top of them. Another problem Bungie has had is the addition by subtraction method. They take away a lot more than they give, at least in terms of balancing. And that's been a problem up until this point, because players don't like to be given powerful options and then have them taken away. It's much easier to give people weaker options and then build them up little by little than it is to give them overpowered stuff and then yank it out from under them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was they wanted to make a great first impression by making you feel like this uber powerful, god killer, which they succeeded in doing. But they do have to be careful with that. I think Destiny 2 will be okay because, like I said, fresh start. I've repeated it 3 or 4 times. But they do just have to be careful with that addition by subtraction method, because you take away too much stuff, like we're not getting custom games. And the reason why they said we're not getting custom games is because for the amount of people that were using it, it wasn't worth the effort to put it in at launch compared to other things they could have been working on. So they felt like they were adding more to the game by subtracting custom games from it. And that's okay. But at the same time, you do that with too much, and you run the risk of alienating some of your player base. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, this is actually I was having a good conversation actually in the Discord again with some people about this exact topic, and there's kind of it is something I think that maybe concerns people. Seeing some things seem to get taken away in Destiny 2, and it's important to remember what you said 3 or 4 times that I won't repeat again. But it's not just starting with essentially a brand new game, because it is going to be very similar. A lot of the abilities are going to be the same. The feel is going to be at least similar or derived from Destiny 1. And so I think there may be a couple of different schools of thought there, and there's actually a really interesting psychological experiment, really interesting to me, really interesting to you, because I'm talking and so you're stuck listening to me, where a monkey is given a reward for performing a task, and it's a secret reward, right? And so it can be lettuce or it can be a grape. And it's a lettuce every time for a long time, and then the monkey gets a grape. And monkeys like grapes better than lettuce, because who the fuck doesn't like grapes better than lettuce? That would be weird. And then the next time, the monkey gets lettuce and is just friggin' pissed and won't even eat it, just throws it away. And so there's this concept of you set an expectation and you stick to it, and that's fine. But then if you give somebody something that they like better, and then you take it away again, that is that's going to lead to massive salt. And that's what Destiny 1 really ran into over and over again. They gave us crappy stuff. They gave us good stuff. They took good stuff away. They gave us other good stuff. They took that good stuff away. It was up and down, back and forth, and it was very frustrating seeing things that you liked get squashed in this endless cycle. And so I'm really hoping that they don't repeat that cycle in Destiny 2. I'm really hoping that we get much more nuanced changes, a much calmer situation. And I'm really hoping that they have, because they have taken some things away in terms of not having custom games, not having some of the things that we're used to, with Destiny 1 plus DLC. I'm really hoping that they've built themselves some tools on the back end to smooth that whole process out. If that is what it is, and we get custom games with a DLC down the road, I'm cool. I'm down. If it's the same, pick ping pong game of balance, and we still don't have custom games, and we don't have some other things that we're expecting. That's really frustrating, and it's going to be upsetting to a lot of people. So
yeah, it's important to make the distinction between salt and food for thought. These are two totally different things.
Yep.
The salt portion is done with. This is just food for thought. Bungie got in trouble with the addition by subtraction thing again with Destiny 1 because they came from Halo, which had Forge, which had Theater, which had custom games, not private matches, custom games.
Yeah.
And then we came into Destiny, which had none of that. And they thought that their time and effort and money was better spent making other parts of the game. But the thing was, the PvP wasn't as balanced as Halo. The story wasn't as good as Halo. And really the only thing that dramatically improved upon Halo was perhaps the feel of the game and the world and graphics and stuff like that itself. So people felt like they didn't have anything added by that subtraction. They felt like all they'd had was things taken away. And that was Destiny 1's problem. And with Destiny 2, we're starting off a little bit like it again. We still, custom games they said are probably going to come. Ranked playlists, which weren't something that were in Destiny 1, but they were in Halo, so we still don't have them. They said they're thinking about it. They feel like they've taken away abilities. They've taken away entire subclasses this time. If it turns out that what they've given us works out better, nobody will be upset about it.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's necessary sometimes. It really is. It's just a really dangerous game to play. It is always better to set expectations low and build them high than it is to set expectations high and then rein them back in. And they don't really have a choice because of Destiny 1, because of the way it went. They really don't have a choice. But that's why I'm optimistic about what they're doing. To me, it seems like they're setting those baselines nice and firmly planted on the ground, low. And they're going to have room to build those up. They're not promising us the world right now and things they're not going to be able to deliver on, or things that aren't going to work and they're going to have to take away. Every super, although the supers feel powerful in my experience, they were still beatable. I wasn't terrified of them. I didn't need a power weapon to shut them down. I don't know if it's because they decrease the amount of damage resistance that they have, or if it's because elementals do more damage to supers, or whatever it was. But and the Game Informer article on the Arcstrider echoes that. It says the Arcstrider felt powerful, but they didn't feel invincible. It felt a lot more fair. It felt better. So did Dawncaller. Or Dawnblade, sorry. Why do I keep calling it Dawncaller? Dawnblade felt powerful when I was using it, but I did not feel invincible. Simultaneously, when I came up against a Dawnblade, I did not think, oh shit, I'm dead. I thought, can I kill this person quick enough? And sometimes I did, and sometimes I didn't, depending on the way we played. Same thing with a Striker. When I saw a Striker running straight at me about to smash, and I was 15 meters away, I didn't think, well, that's it for me. I tried to kill him before he got me. I think it was a really good thing. They feel powerful, but they don't feel invincible. In Destiny 1, your super is supposed to be like a guaranteed kill. In Destiny 2, not so much. You still have to play with some smart, some intelligence. I like that. I like that a lot, and I think it's part of the reason why Destiny 2 gameplay felt so good. And it's why, if you haven't played it yet, wait until the beta and give it a shot, because I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised.
That kind of takes me to the, I think maybe the second thing that I didn't quite get into there, and I'll try to be concise here, because it would be appropriate. But the other school of thought there is not just that you're not necessarily losing something, right? So I studied writing in college, and there's kind of a maxim when it comes to writing and creative writing, just as any other kind, that you first you get everything out, you put it all out there and you see what it looks like, and then you go back to rewrite and you cut it to the bone. You cut out everything that you don't need, everything extraneous. You cut until you literally can't cut anything else, and then you can add some stuff back in if you need to. And I feel like that's what Bungie is trying to do here. With Destiny 1, they just kind of threw stuff out there. This was an experiment. Yes, it derived some things from Halo, but it is so different from Halo in so many ways, with supers, with a million different guns, with randomized perks. There was a lot of changes that really I don't think they entirely knew how to handle coming into Destiny 1. I think that was pretty obvious to a lot of people that they really didn't entirely know how to handle it. And so with Destiny 2, they've come back and they have cut everything that they feel did not work. And they've started to add some stuff back in, but they haven't added everything back in yet. I'm hopeful that they do add a lot of this stuff back in, but I'm not necessarily from that perspective, from that kind of creative, perspective of trying to create something great. I'm not upset that they've cut out a lot of things that they feel didn't work. I do trust them to make generally good decisions on that front. I'm just hopeful that, like you said, that what they replace that with, what they put in place of that, is better. And that, that'll be the test. Playing the game, that'll be the final test.
Oh, absolutely. And since we were talking about them anyways, a lot of information did come out on the Sentinel and the Arc Strider. The Sentinel, we learned, obviously, he's Captain America, but we also learned that there's a perk that allows you to still use Ward of Dawn, still use the bubble shield, which is really, really awesome. I know Slick is going to be super stoked about that. Defender Fun Police or Destiny Fun Police is going to be very happy about it. There are going to be a lot of defenders out there who are very happy about that. Yes. I think that was a really great idea, a really great idea to put that back in there. I'm very happy about that.
I thought the description of the Sentinel was actually really, really cool. And we don't have the complete perk tree, I don't think, for the Sentinel yet, unless I missed that. But
no, I didn't see it.
Talking about like the Captain America fantasy, of course, the shield bash, throwing the shield, but also the ability to create a wall that you can walk with was mentioned, which sounds amazing. And then, of course, dropping a Ward of Dawn, very familiar, obviously, to all of us. So a ton of really cool options there, in some things that are very unique that we've not seen in Destiny. So I'm pumped to see the Sentinel in action. I cannot wait to really get a hold of that in the beta.
Yep, and then we got the Arc Strider, which grenades are the exact same as the Blade Dancer. They actually said it's very similar to the Blade Dancer. They didn't want to change it up drastically. They wanted to make the super feel a little bit smoother, and they wanted to make it a little bit less gimmicky. So they removed some of the stealth stuff. They removed Blink, which makes me think that Blink is probably gone from the Warlock Voidwalker too. I bet Blink is just totally out of the game.
I would say, yeah, 90% sure you're probably right.
Blink was less bad on a Voidwalker, although the whole blink shotgun smack thing was pretty annoying on Voidwalkers. I never seem to have as much of an issue with them as I did with the Blade Dancers, but that's a story for another time. It doesn't particularly matter. So
who complained about that?
You get high jump, strafe jump, triple jump. So the jumps are going to be the same as the Gunslinger. You've got Marksman's Dodge or Gambler's Dodge, which is a little shade step type thing they get. And then we've got Way of the Warrior, which is the first grouping. Combat Flow, which recharges your dodge upon melee kills. Deadly Reach, which extends the range of your melee temporarily after a dodge. Lethal Current, which makes your arc staff attacks hit twice after dodging, so I guess that means hit double after dodging. And then finally, Shocking Blow, which makes your fist emit lightning on a strike, which I guess either chains to other enemies or does bonus damage when you hit someone. I'm not exactly sure which one. And then the bottom one, you've got Way of the Wind, which is Disorienting Blow. Striking an enemy with a melee disorients them and leaves them vulnerable. If you kill a target with Disorienting Blow, it instantly recharges. You have Lightning Reflexes, which lets you take less damage while dodging when Arc Staff is active. You have Battle Meditation, which is when you're critically wounded, melee and grenades? Seriously? Melee and grenades recharge dramatically faster. And then Focus Breathing, which when the ability is active, sprinting reduces your dodge cooldown and you gain increased sprint speed. I already know for a fact I'm using that. I already know for a fact I'm using that perk tree right there. Every single one of those perks sounds like something to me that I'm going to be enjoying, which is better than I can say for every other perk tree that we've looked at so far, where it's like I like 3 of them and I hate one but I have to use them, or I love one but I hate the other 3 but I have to use it. This one, I like every single one on Way of the Wind, so I'm excited for the Arc Strider right now.
I think you're losing your ability to speak, which means we're probably getting close to time here, but
I'm too tired.
No, I'm actually really, really happy with what we've seen here from the Arc Strider. I think this class sounds friggin' amazing. Like, you know, when the Blade Dancer was first described to me before I'd really even played Destiny, was like you're like a sort of like a ninja samurai gunslinger, and that was awesome. That was a great fantasy. I don't know that it ever completely lived up to that, but Arc Strider kind of sounds like it might be carrying that fantasy a little further with a little fewer distractions. Really playing up that dodge punch. Up close play style that I personally love. I love getting up close in PvP now in Destiny 1. I cannot wait to get right up in somebody's face with the Arc Strider in Destiny 2. It's going to be a blast.
I'm excited for it, absolutely. I wasn't a huge fan of the Blade Dancer in Destiny 1, but I think Arc Strider maybe changed in my opinion. But I'll be honest, I've been a fan of everything they've shown me so far. I like the new Striker. I like the Dawnblade. I like the Arc Strider from what I've seen. I even enjoyed the Gunslinger to a certain extent, although I wasn't a fan of the 6-shooter super, but we'll get around to that. So I guess, you know, quick summary of the good. Really excited for the story. Really excited for the new balancing. I think they're going to do a lot better job on that. Really excited for the new subclasses, very much so. On top of that, they also mentioned something about now that they don't have last gen, they were able to add a lot more AI, a lot more missions going on simultaneously, a lot bigger maps. Extremely excited for all that. Basically excited for all the improvements. Excited to not even have a tower to go to not have to go to orbit every single time we want to go somewhere, to go to new worlds, to see new types of enemies. I mean, there's so much stuff I'm excited for. So don't let that little bit of salt at the beginning get you down, because, you know, from everything we've seen so far, Destiny 2 is still going to be a game I put several thousand hours into, a couple thousand hours into. It probably is going to eat up all my time for the next 3 years. I already can't wait for the first expansion, and I haven't even played Destiny 2 at this point in time. Like, that's how excited I am for it.
Yeah.
You know, we like to tell it straight. We don't like to shy away from criticism. We have some criticism. We like to speak it, and we hope you guys understand that we're trying to do it constructively.
Yeah. I guess that brings us to the end of yet another Massive Breakdown podcast.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty much done, so just take us on out.
Alrighty, so just a few things. Do come hang out with us in the new Massive Breakdown Discord. We're hanging out, talking Destiny, talking E3, talking all kinds of things. Going to be a big month for news, lots to discuss. Also put together some fire teams. We already put together a fire team and killed Oryx, so... very happy that things are kicking off in a big way with that Discord being just 2 days old at this point. So new website also. The new hotness is up and live. I did not know exactly what day that was going to happen on, but it is out there. So please check it out. Let me know what you think. If anything does not work the way you would expect it to, or anything looks like it's not maybe working as intended, please hit me up on Twitter at KYT_KUTCHA and let me know so I can fix it. Always some glitches to work out. Big thanks to the patrons for helping me beta test both the Discord and the website. They ironed out a lot of bugs ahead of time so that you guys who maybe aren't part of that group don't have to deal with them. There were so many issues there. But anyway, moving on. We're also doing some awesome giveaways this month. We've got 2 copies of the Destiny Legal News that we are handing out. 1 to a lucky patron, 1 to a lucky Discord member. So there's another incentive for you to hop in and hang out with us. And then we also have a Destiny 2 beanie and Destiny 2 bag. Those are going to be going out as rewards to a lucky patron as well. Be saying thanks this month to those guys in a big way for everything they've done for us to help make this podcast and everything that goes with it possible. If this brings you to the end of your Destiny podcast listening for the week, which you're only halfway through, that leaves you a lot of time, you need to be checking out our friends at the Destiny Tracker Podcast Network. Lots of great folks over there. Let me run down the list. We've got obviously the Destiny Tracker Podcast itself, the RNG Cast, Destiny Down Under, Destiny Lorecast, and Rabbit Hole Radio. A whole mix of Destiny content, so check them out. And finally, do make sure you follow us at Destiny MVP on Twitter. That's at Destiny, the letter M, the letter B, the letter P for Massive Breakdown Podcast. Check us out and let us know what you thought of this episode and any others that you've listened to recently. This is Kit Kutcha, and I am done talking.
All right, and this is Mercules. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.